Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Skip Allen, and this is the Top 5 Weekly. This is a live-ish episode, so I have my two contestants, or my panelists, not contestants, panelists on here with me live. I'm not bringing them in because this is the first time I've done this with a live episode, so I just want to not mess around. I wanted to keep these guys on here live with me. But you've seen these guys before, guys. I mean, girls. You know what I mean by guys. I mean, girls. Ladies. Alex, how you doing? Are you excited to talk about romantic comedies?
Yeah. Peggy, she was in my rom-com exhibition match, just a few weeks ago and knocked it out of the park. So I kind of refer to that list where I watched like 30, 35 rom-coms in span of like a month and a half. Wow. I was definitely referring to a lot of those movies I watched since like the new year. So it's been a fun ride.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a lot of rom-coms. I thought I watched 2 today. I thought that was a lot. All right, Peggy. Are you happy to be on this one? I hear you're the rom-com queen.
See, I have never once referred to myself as that. Let me just set the record straight. But this is my favorite genre. I make no qualms about it. But I've never referred to myself as that. And you guys are talking about rom-coms? Come on now. I'm the one who got the rom-coms. That's a whole different stack, baby.
Yeah. I sometimes will take a picture if I'm doing a subject, if I'm talking about a subject, or if I need to study for something, I'll take a picture of like all my Scorsese or all my Denzel Washington or whatever, just for the fun of it. And people like are blown away that I own like 40 Denzel Washington movies or every Scorsese movie or something. Yeah, but rom-coms is a subject that I love a lot, and I just feel like we haven't really got a lot of great rom-coms the last few years, and I use this term and I don't mean to be like negative, but I feel like the rom-com genre,
there's some feelings, don't we?
is going the way of the dodo bird, where people don't know how to make a great rom-com anymore. We get one a year maybe, and that's back in the 90s. We're getting 2, 3, 4 great rom-coms every year. And back before you had special effects and all this kind of stuff, you'd get rom-coms all the time. Rom-coms would win Oscars. Nowadays, God forbid if a rom-com even got nominated for an Oscar, let alone won an Oscar. Annie Hall was the last rom-com that actually won an Oscar for Best Picture. I mean, so it's a genre I love. Maybe we could get it to come back like the horror movie genre has come back. I love the horror movie genre, but in the 2000s, oh God, how awful it was. But the last 5 years, the horror genre has come back to life, in my opinion. So maybe we'll get some great rom-coms, and but that, what we're here to talk about is what our favorite rom-coms are, or what we believe our top 5 rom-coms are. So let's not get into this whole debate if the genre has died or whatever. I'm not going to get into all that, but it's my personal feelings. I feel like we really haven't got a lot of great ones over the last so many years, and it's sad because it's a good genre. It's a very enjoyable genre for me. But all right, Alex, I know you've been chomping at the bit here. What is your number 5?
I don't want to make a debate, but I'm going to make a really serious statement, which you're ignoring like 50 really solid rom-coms of the past 50 years. But I'm not going to go into that because there's been rom-coms which have won Oscars in the past 10 years. But I'm not going to go into all those awards specifics or anything along those lines. But just going to stop it off. We're going to start with my number 5, and that would be one of my favorite rom-coms of all time. It would actually have to be Harold and Maude.
All right. I do not have Harold and Maude. Peggy, do you have Harold and Maude? All right.
I do not.
All right. So go ahead.
It's a really fun, it's a very fun, I don't want to say lighthearted because it's not. It's about this young man. He's 17, 18 years old, and he falls in love, or what he thinks falls in love, with an 80-something-year-old woman. And she's batshit crazy. She is delightful. She is running away from the cops. She's stealing cars. She's living this bohemian life. And, you know, and he is like, he comes from this really hoity-toity family, and he's obsessed with death. And she just really brings a lot of life that, you know, he's been craving his entire life, essentially. But they really are able to connect in this like wonderful way. So it's not so much, I do feel like it's actually much more of a coming of age story rather than rom-com. But at the same time, there is such a real genuine appreciation and love between these characters, and in very much in a little bit of a romantic sense that I just can't ignore. And the chemistry is completely pops off the screen. I love it.
Not to put you on the spot, do you remember, could you name some of the actors that were in it?
Christopher Plummer.
Christopher Plummer?
Beginners.
Okay. Christopher Plummer. Okay. Oh, love Christopher Plummer. He's fantastic. Yeah. Peggy, have you seen Harold and Maude?
I have seen it, but I haven't seen it for over a decade, so I'm fuzzy on it. But people have been mentioning it recently. I believe Aaron J. just recently mentioned on some show that it's his favorite rom-com as well. So I think the universe is trying to tell me to go back and watch it again.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. I have not seen Harold and Maude, Alex, so that'll have to be going on my list of movies to watch. I've not that many that slip through the cracks, but every once in a while there is. When did this come out, Alex?
It came out in like 67, 68, I want to say.
Okay, I'll definitely.
It's also my list. When I put together my list, I didn't really so much look at as not just like quality or anything, but movies with a lot of rewatchability, movies that really kind of stand up, over time, as well as, how I just connect with the movies. And sometimes I do that within these movies. It's a weird movie, and I love it.
Yeah. I'll have to definitely check it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Peggy, it's your turn. What is your number 5?
My number 5 came out back in 2012. It's an ensemble cast, including the likes of Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, Emma Stone, Julianne Moore, Kevin Bacon. It would be Crazy Stupid Love.
You got that on your list, Alex?
Nope, it's one of my honorable mentions. That movie is fucking delightful. Oh my gosh.
All right, I do not.
Your list, Peggy.
I do not have that on my list either, Peggy. So, talk away.
Well, it is directed by Glenn Ficarra, and I found out through the fan leagues that it's also John Requa. There was 2 directors on this movie, not just one. Written by Dan Fogelman, same guy who writes the TV show This Is Us. If you see some similarities in the stylistic there, that's why. Probably my favorite pairing of Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, since they've been together 3 different movies altogether. It's one of my favorites. I love the fact that it's all these different storylines going, and then there's a twist at one part. I guess it's been long enough that you find out that Emma Stone is the daughter of Steve Carell, and there was all these different storylines going, and you don't find that out until like 3/4 of the way through the movie. It's fantastic. Love it. Makes me laugh. Makes me cry. That's all I really need out of a rom-com.
Yeah, very absolutely fantastic movie. A great twist. I don't think I didn't see the twist coming. Maybe you guys did, but I didn't see the twist coming. You're absolutely right.
I'm mad at myself that I didn't see it, but that just means it was a good one.
Yeah, because you if you knew what was coming, the movie wouldn't be as enjoyable. Alex, What do you think about Crazy Stupid Love? So you said you had it in your honorable mentions.
Yeah, it's just it's a really fun movie. To me, it's very formulaic, but I mean, that's like one of the big things about it. To me, like when I watch it, even though it is so formulaic, at the same time, it makes me forget about the formula, at the same time, where, a lot of ensemble rom-coms and stuff like this, they're everyone kind of plays this very specific role, but this one, it's so great. I mean, that makeover scene is one of my favorite makeover scenes of all time. It's just like beautiful.
And it's great to see 2 men doing it. Normally it's a woman who's getting made over. It's fantastic that it's 2 men working on this,
And I love as well that it's all about the way it kind of goes about it is that, it really kind of acknowledges that, you can look put together. You can be having this life where you have a really cool bachelor pad and you're looking spiffy and you're having sexual relations with all these beautiful people as well, but you can still be tremendously unhappy, so.
Yeah, no, you're right. All right, so it's my turn for my number 5, and damn it.
The Hornet still there?
Yeah, that Hornet, I don't know where the heck it got to, but this is a live show, folks. My number 5 is a little movie called The Big Sick. Do either of y'all have The Big Sick on your list?
I do not.
No?
I have the pick.
It's all a movie.
The Big Sick it stars Kumail Nanjiani and Zoe Kazan. Kumail is a stand-up comedian, and he meets Emily. She's at one of his shows, and it turns out that they get into a relationship, but she ends up getting cancer, and they were about to break it off before this happened. And he feels like it's wrong for him to okay, well, we broke it off. I don't have anything to do with you anymore. So whatever, who cares? You have cancer. Wrong. Guess what? He goes and stays by her side, stays in the hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks. Well, he has to go do his job as a stand-up comedian, but he also stays by her side, even though they're not dating anymore. And she's in a coma, and she wakes up, and he's there. Her parents are played by Ray Romano and Holly Hunter, and they're really funny in this. And the other comedians in the club that he's playing.
Bryant.
Yeah, there's Bo Burnham. There's a lot of other people playing comedians in here. 80, like you said, 80 Bryant from Saturday Night Live. Look, I know it has a track, kind of like why would this be a romantic comedy? Well, because there are laughs in it. There's banter between Ray Romano and Kumail Nanjiani and Holly Hunter in them. But sometimes you put this kind of a storyline into a movie. In actuality, this is a true story. This actually happened. This is the true story of Kumail and Emily. They are actually married in real life, and they turned their lives into a movie called The Big Sick. Michael Showalter directed it. I just love the chemistry between Zoe Kazan and Kumail Nanjiani, and then the supporting cast in this film. I know it has like a sick aspect of a cancer aspect to it, but I still think it's one of the best romantic comedies we've seen in recent years. And so that's why I put The Big Sick on my list at number 5. Alex, have you seen The Big Sick?
Yeah, I've seen it many times.
You got any thoughts?
Oh, I mean, it's. I feel like it's a very solid one. I mean, it does. I feel like it does have its problems, but it's a very much movie that's has a lot of great chemistry and everything. It's. I mean, like, it's just not. I like it. I just don't love it. That's all.
Okay, fine, no problem. Peggy, you got any thoughts on The Big Sick?
I love the fact that it's set in Chicago. That's for sure. Let's see. The awkwardness at the initial point between Kumail's character and Holly Hunter and Ray Romano is just palpable. It's fantastic, especially when Ray Romano asks him the 9/11 question. So awkward, but the awkwardness is just like you want that out of that scene. So I love that part. Yep.
Yeah.
I remember being in those exact conversations when I was in school.
So crazy, but no, that's what they were going for. So yeah, excellent pick.
All right, now we're gonna go on to Alex, number 4.
Yeah. So my number 4 is actually more of a holiday rom-com, and that would be 1960s The Apartment.
Okay.
you know how close I came to putting the apartment. I wanted the apartment. I'm like, how do I get the apartment on my list? And then there's just so many great rom-coms.
Yeah, there are a lot. I didn't see it for the first time until December when I was putting together the holiday exhibition match with Alonzo. However, it's a movie that even though it's not the holidays right now, I do come back to. I have rewatched it several times, and it's very, and I do kind of catch a few extra things here and there. But there's a lot of different things. It's very much an adult love story as well. Which is, I know I don't like saying it's hard to come by an adult love story, but at the same time, it really has a lot of conversations, and the chemistry between like Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine. I feel like it feels very genuine in a way that a lot of rom-coms aren't, if that makes sense.
No, you're right about that.
I feel like those are conversations that everyone has had, with their long-term partners. And so it's very relatable. It feels very real.
Yeah. Peggy, you got any thoughts?
On an apartment where everyone's definitely
Peggy, you got any thoughts on The Apartment?
I recently watched this movie for the first time because someone had chosen as their strength Billy Wilder, so I had to do a whole deep dive on Billy Wilder.
Hell yeah.
I don't understand the love affair people have with this movie. Maybe I just came to it too late in life, but it was okay. I don't understand why everyone's like, oh my God, it's the greatest movie. I'm like, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
totally respect that. Absolutely.
I like a lot of shit movies, so it's all the eye of the beholder,
Well, I hadn't seen The Apartment for a long time either, and I think it was Arrow or somebody put out a special 40th edition box set of it, and my buddies who were into collecting all these types of things like Criterion collections and stuff got it, and I'm like, damn, you guys are making me jealous. So I ended up finding a copy of The Apartment, not that version, which I kind of wish I could have gotten that version, and watched it, and I was absolutely blown away. Shirley MacLaine you could tell she was going to become an absolute star from this movie.
Stunning.
Oh, she was beautiful. And Jack Lemmon, I mean, he was at that time in his career, he was kind of having a really great time. Yeah, we know he had a great decade in the 90s, but the late 60s, he was really doing some great work as well. Jack Lemmon was Mr. Roberts and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it seems like something you wouldn't think would exist, an apartment where people go and they have sex and whatnot, and they pass on the key to the next guy and stuff like that. It's like, this is the 60s. This is kind of a touchy subject.
It's a little risque. You can't really forget, though. I mean, it's just not only is it very much a risque movie, but it's also a movie where it kind of put a lot of the control into the female characters and in these positions. Like Shirley MacLaine, I mean, sure, she was not. She was in a situation where, unfortunately, she was having sex with her boss's boss, kind of thing, and that's having that kind of power move sucks. However, she it's not about her having power in the situation. It's about her recognizing that, hey, fuck this.
Yeah.
I'm worth more than that.
Yeah.
And she's recognizing that. And she's also having those moments, and she's taking control of that. And she's recognizing it when she's like kind of talking to the secretary that also had an affair with him as well. And she's kind of recognizing, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And she takes power over that situation, and she kind of works together with the secretary, and they kind of power play it together. And so I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys are fans of Mad Men, but that ad executive world was a very glamorous world in the 60s. And those guys were like the kings of that part of New York and everything. And the women just wanted to be a part of it, and it just so happens that ended up being a sexual thing, and they broke away from it because they thought, well, this is wrong, you're married and all this stuff. It was great. I mean, it has some great messages in the film, and great performances as well. All right, Peggy, what is your number 4?
This one is one that I happen to truly adore. Not many people are familiar with it, but more so in this community, luckily. I'm going with the Albert Brooks starring and directing in romantic comedy, Defending Your Life.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
I never saw that. Do you got that on your list, Alex?
I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it.
I never saw it either. Wow. So this
Mel
is
Brooks directed it.
Okay.
So this is going to be good. No, this. Did you say Mel Brooks or Albert Brooks?
Albert Brooks.
Albert Brooks. Okay, Albert Brooks. So here you go, Peggy. You get to talk about a movie that neither one of us have seen, and this is the whole point of the show, is to share things with other people. Hopefully, there's nobody watching, but whatever.
Okay, so basic premise of the movie is you meet Albert Brooks's character Daniel in the beginning, and he's an ad executive. Go figure. And he accidentally drives off. He buys himself a BMW for the first time, drives it off the lot, and gets hit by a bus and dies in the first 5 minutes of the movie. So, cut to the afterlife. He goes to a place called Judgment City, where you are basically put on trial for your life. You get to see different scenes from your life, and they decide whether or not you proceed or you go back to Earth to try it again. While he is in this afterlife little, what's the word I'm looking for? Limbo. When he's in this little afterlife limbo while he's being judged, he meets Meryl Streep, falls in love with her, and that's a whole different story that goes on with that. I'm not going to spoil anything more because you guys haven't seen it, but it's got Meryl Streep, so come on. You know it's good.
Yeah, Meryl Streep has got us. She's my number one actress of all time. So yeah, I'm in now. Meryl Streep. I'm putting that on the list.
Mm-hmm. And Rip Torn plays his attorney.
Oh, Rip Torn. So he's pretty. Rip Torn's got to be pretty funny in that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Alex? What do you think? You got any thoughts on what she said so far about?
I mean, it really does sound like a good time. I'm not a fan of Albert Brooks personally, but I'd say I love rom-coms. I mean, 95% of rom-coms, and I mean that's such an interesting premise. So I'm really kind of curious. I love that. Mm-hmm.
This movie might turn you around on Albert. I don't know, but give it a shot. I think you'll like it.
He's great in Finding Nemo. He's great in Finding Nemo. I don't care what anybody says.
I don't like that movie.
I love it. It's my favorite Pixar movie of all time.
He doesn't like Finding Nemo.
Love
Finding Nemo. Care Bears or something.
Yeah.
Weird.
I didn't grow up with Care Bears.
I did. I love Care Bears when I was a kid. Little kid. All right, so now we're going to go on to my number 4. This is what I mean when I say that the romantic comedy genre hasn't really done a lot, but it has had a few in the last 5 or 10 years or so that I really resonated with and I really enjoyed. One of them is a absolute great cast by all these women. See if you guys can name the movie. I'm not even going to say the movie. I'm hoping you all. Wait, the thing is that I don't. All right, whatever. If you guys have it on your list, I'll skip to it afterwards. Once I name all these names: Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Rose Byrne. Do y'all know what that is?
Bridesmaids.
Do y'all have either one of y'all have Bridesmaids?
No, I don't really like. I don't consider this a rom-com all that much. Honestly, it's more of a
chick comedy.
There's 2 romances in it.
There's
there's romance. I mean, it's more of a side story, if anything. It's you can take out most of the romance, and it's completely obsolete, honestly.
I consider it a romantic comedy. You're dealing with a wedding of Rose Byrne, and you got all her buddies who are going to be her bridesmaids, but the bridesmaids all have their own little side stories going on, and they have stuff with themselves in their own lives that they have to deal with. The main one is the main bridesmaid, and that's Kristen Wiig. Annie, she's got this relationship with Chris O'Dowd's Rhodes, who pulls her over. He's a police officer. He pulls her over off the side of the road, and they start having a romantic relationship in the movie because she was with John Hamm, who is, no pun intended, he is a ham and he's a jerk and he's the worst.
The point of this movie, though, is not the romance between her and Chris O'Dowd's character, even though they're very cute together. The point of this movie is the relationship in creating adult female friendships, which is a million times more difficult to make, which this movie really shows on. To me, the real romance is Melissa McCarthy and the new adult friendship formed between Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig. Now, that's the real romance. Chemistry, friendship that's developed, that's highlighted in the movie. Chris O'Dowd, you can take him away. I don't care about him. He's cool and all. I love that guy. John Hamm, whatever. But Melissa McCarthy
has a romance too.
What?
She has a romance too with her actual real life husband.
Yeah, I mean, like that cameo involved doesn't make it a rom-com.
Well, the main characters in the movie are Kristen Wiig and Chris O'Dowd. The bridesmaid is like a circle, like a way around this relationship between these two. In my opinion, it is. In my opinion, it is.
Movie.
I love Bridesmaids. I think it's a funny movie. I think it deals with, like you said, friendship, but it also deals with romance in a different way that we don't normally see romance dealt with in movies between the Chris O'Dowd and Kristen Wiig character. But it also, like you said, it has a lot of friendship between the bridesmaids. Has some laugh out loud comedy moments where they went to a taco place, had some Mexican food, and afterwards, needless to say, some of them are doing number 2 in sinks or in the street or whatever. But I
love, back me up on this.
I love
it out.
But say what you're gonna say, Alex, because now that I'm done talking, you could say what you're going to say. I believe it's a rom-com, and I'm sticking to it.
Becky.
I think it's more of a female like buddy comedy that has a side order of some sort of romance between Kristen Wiig's character and Chris O'Dowd. I think the main relationship is between Maya Rudolph and Kristen Wiig's character, but that's just me.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's sure there is a wedding at the end, but no one really cares about the wedding all that much. It's more about the relationship between the rekindling the friendship between Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph's character, who is getting married. But she's also in that situation where they were friends growing up, but they realize that, although they are growing up and they're kind of separating into these new parts of their lives, they have to create these new friendships. And Rose Byrne wrote the fostering of this new relationship between Rose Byrne's character as well as Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. I feel like that's the real relationship and takeaway of the movie. Again, Chris O'Dowd's character and everything, that's really good and all, but I mean, it's really kind of obsolete. He could have been turned into a gay character and it would have been the exact same plot.
That's true. But I will let this one slide because my number 1 overall might be categorized as like a female, like buddy, like not comedy, but you'll see when we get there. But I'll let it slide now.
Yeah, I mean, I know what films that there are a lot of films that cross genres. And sometimes you do have that. And Bridesmaids crosses genres from romantic comedy to, like you said, buddy comedy. So that if I will give you that much, Alex. But let's move on. Yeah. Let's move on to your number 3.
You want it on your list.
What'd you say, Peggy?
I said you want it on your list, Dan. You put it on your list. It's your show.
I wouldn't call Lethal Weapon, even though there's a romance in Lethal Weapon, a rom-com, even though it's more of an action movie that's focused on a buddy cop movie. But I digress. We're not going to go into that.
That's good.
Even though it's obviously not a rom-com.
That's good. Let's get into your number 3.
I'm sorry, I'm being difficult today.
That's all right. I don't mind.
I like the spiciness, Alex.
I'm very argumentative in general. It's true. My number 3 is very much a classic. I feel like it's endlessly rewatchable. I feel like it's going to be on both of y'all's lists as well. It's a classic. When Harry Met Sally, Rob Reiner's.
Oh, easy.
I do not have it. It's in my number 8. I added it
nice.
It was hard for me to put it on the list. Very difficult decision. Peggy, do you say you have it or you don't have it?
I do.
Okay, so we can't talk about it. We cannot talk about it until we get to Peggy. We're going to go to Peggy's number 3. What is your number 3, Peggy?
Mine is a more recent movie. Luckily, it's available on Netflix currently, so if you've never seen it, you can check it out. It is a Richard Curtis directed movie starring Donald Gleason and Rachel McAdams, who is in many, many a rom-com. I'm going with About Time.
Fuck yeah, girl.
Wow. I do not
Yeah.
have About Time on my list, but I did enjoy it when I saw it in the theaters. Alex, do you not have About Time?
It's in my honorable mentions. I took it out personally because I love that movie. That's actually my personal top 10 movies of all time. I love that movie. But more so than a drama, I consider it much more, more so than a rom-com, I consider it much more of a dramedy. In the relationship, in like the development of the relationships between him and his family, but especially him and his father.
All right, well, take it away, Peggy.
No, I will grant you that the relationship, like just the chemistry between him and Bill Nye as his father in this is fantastic. You couldn't ask for better chemistry. They just feel so believable, the rapport that they have. But yeah, I mean, I think it majorly centers on him trying to find love, and love that he does happen to find and stumbles to find along the way is with Rachel McAdams. And it's just such a beautiful story. I mean, you can point to the relationship between him and his sister, between him and his mom, between him and all of his best work buddy or the roommate that he moves in with. I mean, there's all these different relationships that just make the whole movie just more full of life and just love, and it's got a great message behind it, and it's one of my favorites.
It's so I don't like saying relatable because we can't really relate to a guy that's like jumping through time by jumping in a closet. But at the same time, I mean, those are like all those conversations he's had with his dad, and when he's seeking advice on relationships, on being with his mom and trying to figure out everything. Those are like all conversations I feel like we've had with our family at some point or another. So, you know, seeking advice on how to navigate relationships and everything. It's just in that last conversation when they're playing ping pong.
Yeah, and even just like the little side story of Damel's character and Margot Robbie's character, when you get the chance to revisit that and like realize that you might have wondered what if, but you tried all those scenarios and guess what? Wasn't the right fit. Wouldn't we all love to have that ability?
Not kidding.
Yeah. All right, so you guys had a chance to talk about Time. I really enjoyed it. You don't usually see movies that have like a science fiction twist in it, like About Time, and have this wonderful, great romance. So yeah, definitely, I was blown away when I first saw this movie back, and how many years ago I saw it in the theater. And because a lot of times I'm in the movie theater by myself, or maybe a few other people are in there, so you don't know what movies are going to be like until you go see them. And sometimes you get very pleasantly surprised. And About Time was one of those movies for me. Would you say?
Check it out.
It's a Trojan horse. It looks like a rom-com. It's actually a really intense family drama.
It'll rip your heart out, but in the best way.
Quite a bit with a lot of romance. Yeah. Oh my God.
Romantic comedies can have multiple genres. They can be mixed in with multiple genres. All right, now a little bit of in wrestling they call it shooting when you talk about real life stuff. There's a little bit of shooting for me. Before the show, we got into a discussion about my number 3 movie. Some people didn't believe it was a romantic comedy. I believe it's a romantic comedy, so I put it on my list, and it's one of my favorites. It's called 500 Days of Summer. You can see Alex's eyes, who did not believe it's a romantic comedy. She does.
I wasn't there yet. I came in the like 9th inning.
But I love this movie. I just think it's such a quirky, awkward, different kind of movie. It stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Tom and Zooey Deschanel as Summer. And like the title says, it's 500 Days of Summer. It's like a year and a half of them dating, and it goes throughout the year and a half. And they ups and downs.
They're not dating though.
But they're on and off. They're on and off.
No, they're not. She's telling him, I'm not ready to date. I am not emotionally available. I do not want to date. And he demands that they date. And she's like, fuck that. So they never dated.
Well, he gets help. He gets relationship help from his little sister. Her first movie that I've ever seen her in, or anything she's ever been in, Chloe Grace Moretz, is the little sister, and she's got so many funny lines in this film, trying to help her big brother out. I'll tell you what, I love. You know, a lot of times romantic comedies, you have this kind of a chemistry, but Zoe Deschanel and Joseph Gordon had this like awkward kind of thing going on, which I'm just gonna let them have it. I'm just gonna let them have it. What I don't know. I guess she's gonna let me have it or something. I don't know.
Let you guys have at it. Let you guys go.
No. I mean, but this is fun. Everybody's got look. This is a fun show about everybody talking about what they love and what they believe. I mean, nobody should have any problems with somebody else's pick or anything like that. I mean, even if it's your own personal opinion or whatever, this is just a fun show of sharing our love of movies is what this is. And I love 500 Days of Summer, and that's why I wanted to put it on the list. I wanted to talk about it because I just love the film so much. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt was really coming into his own. He had 30 Rock.
Third Rock from the Sun.
Third Rock from the Sun. 30 Rock. Third Rock from the Sun. And then he kind of got into this like new like body where he was like an upper teen or a little young adult.
Sure, mysterious skin.
It's like, oh my God, this kid is actually a talented actor. He's not this kid from this sitcom, and he could do some really good work. And things like The Lookout and 500 Days of Summer and things like that really made me really appreciate him. And Zoe Deschanel look, we all know that she was on the sitcom on Fox, The New Girl, but she was basically playing the new girl in movies before she was the new girl in the sitcom. She was this awkward, weird kind of girl in these movies. Then she became kind of an awkward, kind of weird girl in The New Girl. To me, I only watched a couple seasons of The New Girl. After that, I stopped watching it. But 500 Days of Summer has a great story and a great premise, and I love the chemistry. So it's just my opinion. Say whatever you want about it. It's on my list at number 3. Alex, go ahead. You've been chomping at the bit for this.
It's one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. I love that soundtrack, actually.
Great soundtrack.
I don't think it's a rom-com. Does it have romance? Does it have comedy? Sure. But they're not dating. There's no effort to date. It's a dramedy really focused on the love life of one character and his perspective. It's very problematic. It is a movie. It's very purposefully problematic as well, which I admire, the way he kind of goes about it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he even says that he's like, that movie is purposely bad. He's supposed to be a bad guy. He's very pretentious. So he goes about his relationships. You should not sympathize with his character. And also he's in a situation where he's almost emotionally stunted. He's really projecting his image on what a good girl should be, on what a good girlfriend should perform and act. And she's almost like put into this manic pixie dream girl situation where he makes her seem like she is my saving grace. That's not why she's there. She has her own problems and her opinions and everything she's going through, and he is very purposefully ignoring that, because those emotions would not fit in with his image of her. So even everyone involved, the director, all the actors, and everyone involved, they even admitted, they're like, this is never meant to be a rom-com. This is not meant to be a romantic comedy in any way. It's meant to be a dramedy. And scene. I've written papers on this.
Guess that means I'm up. I would like to refer to this movie as a rom-dram instead of a rom-com. So it's more of a romantic drama that has humorous parts to it, but not necessarily a romantic comedy and like the archetype that genre is. However, I do enjoy this movie. I do enjoy especially the part where it's almost like a sliding doors type of scenario where it's playing what ideally happened in his head as opposed to like what's actually in reality happening. Mm-hmm. I love the creativity of that. That was probably my favorite like creative like choice within the movie. But it's a good movie. I just wouldn't have it on my list for rom-coms. But no, it's still a good movie though.
Has that been used in any other movies, do you think? I would love to see it in more movies, actually. I can't think of any other movies where it has.
Sliding Doors kind of did it, but I can't think of anything else that really did.
With Gwyneth Paltrow, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, so that was my number 3. Going back to Alex for her number 2.
This movie is just a fun time, and that is Something's Gotta Give.
Okay.
Jack Nicholson.
I don't own that
movie. Just a delight.
You gotta get my honorable mentions. I love that movie. Love.
It's really fun. It's it's actually really sexy. It's there's a lot of chemistry between everyone, and it's just one of those movies. It does have its problems, but also it comes down to this very lovely, romantic comedy, about these two people in a stage of life where they're not actively looking for love, yet they find it, at a time in their lives where a lot of people kind of look at people at that stage in their life and they're like, no, they're never going to get into new relationships. They're never going to have sex again. They're sexless. So they're not characters or anything that's been used in rom-coms unless it's like a joke. And it's really treated with a lot of respect and genuine love here, which I like.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Helen Hunt, Jack Nicholson, Greg Kinnear. Is it Something's Gotta Give, right? Is that
Helen Hunt's not in it? It's what's her name? Yeah, Diane Keaton.
Diane Keaton.
Greg Kinnear's not in it.
I'm getting
it as good as it gets, Dan.
Yep, getting it mixed up. I apologize. I do. Okay. I know what you're talking about, though. No.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves is in it, where they date and everything. They go to the beach house. Yeah. It does have its problems where it's I can't remember what it's called, where it's like some movie critic or something brought it up, where it's selling more the image of this like mega wealthy upper class more than anything else in the movie. Like casually speaking French, like no big deal. Yeah. Casually going to Paris over Christmas.
Well, they do that a lot in movies. Where
exactly.
They have money. People
I know there's a specific term where you're selling a lifestyle and aesthetic rather than a relationship.
Yeah. Well, they use the fact that people have money to be able to tell a story. Like they have a house in the Hamptons, or they have a house over here, and let's go to the beach, or let's just for the hell of it, let's fly to Paris or whatever. That's just a way to be able to tell the story that they want to tell. Mm-hmm. And sometimes pretending like the characters have money makes it easier than if the characters were a bunch of poor people, So you're going to see that a lot in movies where people tend to have money, especially older folks like Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson and Something's Gonna Give.
It's a lot easier to go about things and be spontaneous and everything when you don't really have to think about jobs and money.
Yeah. Peggy, you got any thoughts on Something's Gotta Give?
Well, anything with Diane Keaton, I'm on board from the jump. Honestly, even the cheerleader movie, which I have yet to see, but I will watch it because Diane Keaton is in it. What do you say?
Oh, as you should.
Right?
It's a fun time. She's so cute. It's delightful.
Love her. She's crazy in the best possible way. Mm-hmm. For this movie, I like the fact, like Alex was saying, that it is a rom-com for maybe like an older demographic, and that kind of gives me hope that once I hit that age group, that I will still have rom-coms that I am into and that I can identify with. So I watched that movie with hope. So that makes it a good rom-com for me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Peggy, what's your number 2?
My number 2 was the aforementioned When Harry Met Sally.
All right, so you guys could have your conversation with it after Peggy starts, and Alex, you can break in after she gets some talking.
Honestly,
because that was your number 4, right? Was that number 3, Alex?
It was number 3 for me. Mm-hmm.
All right, so after Peggy talks, you get a chance to talk, and you guys have this nice conversation.
Well, I'll give a little synopsis, and then I'll let Alex take it away. When Harry Met Sally, a wonderful rom-com directed by Rob Reiner, starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, if you've never seen it. Also has Princess Leia for all you geekdom folk out there. Mm-hmm. Set in New York City, 2 people who meet when they're driving from Chicago to New York City, just having graduated college, then re-meet years later, become friends, and then realize later at the end that they fall in love with each other. It is a fantastic movie, full of ups and downs, highs and lows, laughs and cries. I'll let Alex tell you a little bit more about it.
There's nothing more, to tell. It's a story about that has a lot of conversations. It's an adult love story. You know, it's a very realistic love story. It's, you know, set in New York, and not to mention, it's one of my favorite movies set in New York. Like, that should be a Schmodown category right there. Movies set in New York City. Just saying. The visuals are amazing. Like them, like casually jogging or like speed walking in the park. So good. Bruno Kirby and
dude, one year for Christmas, I got my brother a T-shirt that says "Don't fuck with Mr. Zero" from the scene when they're at the Giants game.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh, and there's like, oh, cool.
Well,
yeah, but there has like a lot of conversations in this movie that I feel like are very real to any couple that's been like, that have been friends with benefits, any couple that kind of come together after a long time of being friends, you know. But it's, you know, it's not to mention everyone has friends like they do. Everyone has like that one girlfriend or guy friend that's having affairs with married guys every once in a while, and they know they shouldn't. Everyone knows that one guy that keeps making stupid decisions. Yeah, because they like the drama, or they like that kind of trouble aspect or whatever. It's just,
yeah. And everyone has a friends where they're like, "How have you guys not gotten together yet? Like, how is that not? How is that possible?"
Exactly. It's
it really is.
Conversations are wonderful.
When Harry Met Sally really has a realistic take on romance and relationships. And that's what's so great about it, is like, wow, this is real. This is like so many people can relate to When Harry Met Sally. And of course, you know, I would be amiss if I didn't bring up the scene in the diner where she's in the diner and she's doing the fake orgasm, and the lady says, "I'll have what she's having." Dude, wow, no reaction from Alex from that at all. But I love
it. Like, it's a pretty iconic line. It's, I mean, like,
that's a funny
line of film history, honestly. It's I honestly, one of my favorite lines of the movie is like, "I am difficult." Like, this movie, if it was with different actors, it's a real legit drama, you know, romance drama. But with the hands of, you know, these actors, with Bruno Kirby and, you know, Meg Ryan and all these awesome people, you know, it has, you know, there's you know, real moments of weight and drama, but at the same time, there's a lot of lightness and there's a lot of comedy moments. I mean, like when they're talking on the phone and they're like, "Ooh, whatever," and she's like, "I am difficult. We never have sex on the floor in the kitchen."
I want to correct me if I'm wrong. Was that Rob Reiner's? Was she related to Rob Reiner?
His mom,
the lady that did that.
It's his mother.
I thought it was his mother. Yeah. He put his mother in this role, in this little cameo role of all, and she's got the line of the whole movie, one of the greatest quotes in movie history. It's like crazy, you know, because I've heard him talk about it before, you know, when he's doing interviews, and it was like, how the heck did anybody know that this was going to happen? Like, it's going to be one of the great scenes in movie history. You know, you don't know that. And he puts his mom in there, you know. So that was your number 2 and Alex number 3. My number 2 is a little movie. You know, I don't know if you guys have seen this movie or not. I'm hoping you have seen it. It's called Say Anything. Do you guys either have that on your list? Say Anything?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Do you have it on your list?
It is not on my list.
Okay, Peggy, not on your list?
I know Cameron Crowe directed it. I know John Cusack's in it. I know Peter Gabriel's song, but I have yet to see Say Anything.
I gave her my heart. She gave me a pen.
See, I know the quote. I just don't ever seen it.
So Say Anything. It's this guy named Lloyd who's basically a high school guy, and he just basically says, you know, I'm going to go date the valedictorian of the school, the smartest girl in the school. They're all graduating and whatever. She's Mrs. kind of hoity-toity, like she doesn't have anything to do with anybody in the school because she's all about her grades. Her father's got her
set. What doesn't make her hoity-toity, though?
Well, she's like, I'm all about focus, about school and getting into college, and her father's got her on this fellowship or this scholarship that in England, that she gets a scholarship in England, and he's kind of like the also ran, like he's over there practicing karate in his house, and he lives with his sister and all this stuff. So it's like not the type of guy she would date, but because he called her up and he made her laugh, they started this relationship. But the father wants her to focus on the main things, and that's going to college, not having any ties back home and in Seattle. And he, of course, loves her and wants to be with her, and he likes the time that they spent together. And of course, you know the famous scene where he's outside of a window playing the Peter Gabriel, "In Your Eyes," blah, 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 blah.
It's so 80s. It's great.
It's great. Yeah, it's a great scene. And then something happens to her father, which gets her to like, you know what? I don't want to be all about serious and going off to school and being because look at my dad. This is somebody I trusted my whole life, and something happened to him that shows me I shouldn't have trusted. Maybe I should trust my instincts, and love in my relationship might be a little bit more important at this age in my life. And I'll tell you right now, if I could find some kind of, if I could have found something like that in my life, I would be all in it. I'd be over there playing the freaking boom box, playing the song out some girl's window. Probably get arrested. You know, that'd be my luck. They call the cops on me. That'd be my luck. But I just really can relate to this story and the performances. And John Cusack's his real life sister plays his sister in the movie, which is kind of cool. So I had to say anything. You got any thoughts on?
They've done that a lot.
Yeah, they've been in 11 movies together, Dan.
Have they? Oh, never mind. Sorry, apologize. I don't remember all the movies that we were in together.
I was looking at Cusack pairings as a possible strength. That's how I know that one.
No, that'd be solid. It's a great category. Anything from like Gross Pro Blank, 16 Candles. You can do a whole lot.
So do you got any thoughts on say anything, Alex?
I mean, I love it. It's one of my favorite rom-coms of the 80s. It's one of my favorite high school or teen specific high school like rom-coms. It's I mean, like every movie, it's a little problematic at some points, but it's such a really nice movie where it's really just kind of to me, one of the big takeaways is not her relationship with her father. You know, I mean, I feel like that's the big thing in this movie where for the first time in her life, I mean, her mother is dead, unfortunately, and her dad is someone who has like a nursing home, and she volunteers there. I mean, like, how much more of a good guy in theory can you get? And he's helping her focus on school, and really just like a lot of parents do, like, you know, you can focus on love and relationships later, whatever. Focus now on school, like a lot of parents do. And so when it kind of to see her shatter like that and really just get triggered by those realizations that come to light, I can only imagine how difficult that would be if that were to happen to me, you know, so.
Yeah. And Peggy, you haven't seen Say Anything, right?
I haven't, but I am very familiar with the Dobler-Dahmer scale from How I Met Your Mother, if you guys are familiar with that. When you were talking earlier about how you might get the cops called on you, you got to pick your moments when you're going to do a gesture of that type, because either you're going to be considered completely romantic or completely crazy.
Yeah. It's not only that, but I mean, there's the points where he's like, there are points at the beginning of the movie where he is really fucking creepy. And I'm like, nope, fuck that. Like, if that happened to me, I'd be like, no, stay the fuck away from me. Like, actively stay away from me.
Oh, wow. Okay. All
like,
right. So,
yeah, other than that, I'm
without her knowing, that's creepy.
Well, the party scene where he's like, he didn't want to be clingy to her, so he lets her go off and talk to everybody. But then, like, he's watching her from like the corner and stuff. He's like, so that's kind of goofy.
Yeah, and for the entire time, she's like,
he's keeping an eye on me. That's
yeah, I know, but if my husband did that when we were dating, I would be like, no, get the fuck out. That's really creepy. Like that. Right, that makes me uncomfortable.
All right. So that was my number 2. So now we're gonna go to Alex's number 1.
Again, not a perfect movie, but it's a movie that's very near and dear to my heart. I love this movie. It's 1995's Sabrina.
Hey,
The remake.
I love it with Harrison Ford, Greg Kinnear. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember the main chick's name. I feel awful. Oh, it's exactly, there it is. I saw the original for this, and I do like the original, quite a bit, but it has a lot more problems. There's like where she like in the first one she tries to commit suicide in her garage.
Yeah,
and Linus saves her, and he's like, "No, you can't kill yourself. You're taking me to the airport tomorrow. Kill yourself another day."
Humphrey Bogart isn't necessarily the greatest leading man.
But I really, really love this movie. I really do. It's it's a woman. She finds herself, and she ends up she realizes that she values her self-respect and her self-love so much more than her relationship with, Linus or what's his name, Larrabee. David Larrabee, the one who she initially loved, David Larrabee. And it's, and it's because of that kind of really kind of makes me love it so much more. And Linus, he ends up, he not just loves her, but he finds like a new level of respect for himself, as well as the relationship, as well as like what love and respecting a female partner could be. So that's ideal.
And how many times, I'll be honest with you, how many times do you think brothers in real life have fought over a woman? Probably millions of times, right?
I mean, it's a pretty traditional love story.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so people can relate to that, where brothers love the same girl, and it all depends, which one.
What also to remember is that David, he never loved her. He just thought she was hot, and he didn't like knowing that she was like that. She wasn't taken. Essentially, he didn't like knowing that she wasn't at his beck and call anymore. But yeah, there was no point where David was like, "I choose you, Pikachu." That was never a thing with her and Sabrina. So because he was engaged already from the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah. All right, Peggy, you got any thoughts on Sabrina?
I like this movie. My favorite line was Harrison Ford and his mom are heading into work, and David's just shooting the shit with him. He's like, so you guys work on Sundays now? He's like, it's Wednesday, David. Kind of like it feels right now.
Wednesday, David.
Julia Roman's character was this little teenage girl who grew up climbing a tree to look into these lavish parties that the Larrabees threw, and had this hugest crush on David Larrabee, put him up on a pedestal. She gets to go to an internship over at Vogue in Paris, comes back a newly sophisticated woman. David takes notice, wants to have like a one-night stand with her, but then Linus Larrabee sees what's about to happen, might ruin the merger between the two families, so he steps in and pretends to be like romantically like interested in her. But then as they spend time together, he actually does become romantically involved in wanting to be with her. And I love that part of the whole story.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah, you didn't see Harrison Ford in these types of movies very often, because he's
not
pretty much in a lot
up
of action movies, So
you
could just see him in a romantic comedy.
He did so well in this movie. He really did. He was really funny. He has like a really solid, dry sense of humor, which I am sad it hasn't been used more in his career as a lead.
Yeah, no, you're right. All right, so Peggy, what is your number one?
My number one is a movie not many people I have found have ever seen, because it came out in 1989. So I'm assuming nobody else on this panel has this one. This is a movie about four best friends going off before, like the last weekend together before one of them gets married. A couple of them go off to college. One of them has aspirations to head off to Hollywood. Four best friends who find love and fun in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in the year 1963. This movie is called Shag the Movie.
Oh, I thought it was a different movie.
Oh, no. It's Shag movie. It's the girliest movie you will ever find. It's not that funny, but if you're going romantic comedies, this is the one that's nearest and dearest to my heart.
All right. Have you not seen
it a
it?
British movie?
Hmm?
Is it a British movie?
No. This was set in South Carolina in 1963.
Oh, because I know shag is like a British term.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, this was a style of dance back then.
Oh, gotcha. Cool.
Yeah,
But
I never
it's not-
saw it either. So I really can't say anything about it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll tell a little bit about it. Stars Phoebe Cates. You guys are familiar with her. Married to Kevin Kline. Star of Spicoli. Why
Kevin
can't I think of the name? Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. But also Bridget Fonda's in this. Annabeth Gish, if you know her from say
X-Files.
or what's the one with the I am blanking hardcore right now. Sons of Anarchy. She was on there for a time. She was in Mystic Pizza.
Oh yeah. Mystic Pizza. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but this was made in 1989. It's about 4 girls who are supposed to be taking one of their friends off for like their last weekend together before she gets married, like a bachelor type of thing. Tells her they're going to Fort Sumter to learn about or tour colonial homes. End up going to Myrtle Beach and partying and meeting boys and dancing, and it's just a really good, feel good chick flick, and I love it. Y'all should
Sounds like
go
a
watch
good
it.
movie.
Check it out.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to put that on my list. And there's 3 movies on this episode that I have to put on
It's
my
a
list.
chick flick. It's definitely for girls. Girls will enjoy it more, but you may enjoy it as well.
Okay, all right. I like all kinds of movies. It doesn't matter what who they're geared towards. All right, so there's a reason you guys are probably wondering. He never brought up. He never said what reason. Why are we doing romantic comedies this week? Well, there's a special anniversary this week, a 30th anniversary to be exact, of probably one of the greatest romantic comedies of all time, and that is my number 1 romantic comedy of all time. Well, I mean, my top 5. It's my number 1. It's a movie that I will always go back to when I want to watch a great romantic comedy, because I just feel like it just has such heart to it. It has such it's like everybody can relate to it, because there are those rags and riches relationships where somebody that's rich pulls the person from obscurity and brings them up to their level, and then they realize, wow, they have more in common than you think. It's just they were a big shot and they weren't, or vice versa. And it might remind you of a story called Cinderella. This movie, it's called Pretty Woman, starring Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. Richard Gere plays Edward, a businessman. He buys companies and he breaks them apart and sells them and makes more money for them. Julia Roberts plays Vivian, a prostitute on the streets of Los Angeles. Edward is what I meant to say. Edward is leaving a party that he was at, and he gets lost. He's trying to go to Beverly Hills. He gets lost. He pulls off the side of the road and asks these couple prostitutes, "Hey, can you guys help me with directions?" And there's a pimp that comes running out, and then so she jumps into his car, and needless to say, she goes off with him. Vivian, played by Julia Roberts, goes off with Richard Gere. They spend the night together, eating strawberries and drinking champagne. And needless to say, he's got some business all week long in Los Angeles, so he asks her to stay with him for the entire week. And of course, because she's a prostitute, he pays her to stay with him. But this doesn't go over well with his lawyer and some of the crowd he hangs out with. Like they go to a polo match, and of course, she doesn't necessarily fit in. Needless to say, there's a hotel manager who it's his job to please his guests, and she's one of his guests. So he goes out of his way to make sure his guests, which includes Edward and Vivian, are well taken care of. And he's played by Hector Elizondo. Then there's an elevator operator guy. He's kind of funny. This movie is basically a modern day retelling of Cinderella. And there are some funny moments because you're taking somebody who's not all about society. She's not all about which fork for this dinner and all this stuff. So those kind of fish out of water moments are kind of funny in this movie. Like she goes into a store and they don't, no, you can't come in here. No, we don't want you in the store. And then of course she goes back later with him and they're bowing down. Oh, we'll do whatever they go. We'll get you here. Wait, we'll do all this kind of stuff. And for me, this is when I think of great romantic comedies, Pretty Woman is at the top of the list for me. I go back to Pretty Woman time and time again. I just love, I guess it's kind of that dream relationship I wish I could have with a woman. You know, this is, of course, I'm not some Richie businessman, you know, or any of that stuff. But to me, it's just such a sweet story and has so much heart to it. And I just love it. Alex, you got any thoughts on Pretty Woman?
I honestly kind of want to hear Peggy's thoughts first.
All right.
Okay, so on one hand, don't get me wrong, I love Pretty Woman. It's one of the all-time classic quote-unquote rom-coms, but to say that it sounds like the ultimate relationship, I wouldn't stretch it that far. However, it's an enjoyable movie. It gets a little awkward with the Jason Alexander whole scenario of it all.
He's just jealous is all.
No, he's not jealous.
He's jealous because he's got this relationship with Richard Gere. His boss and him are buying companies. They're tearing them apart. They got this whole kind of thing going on. And then she gets in there and she's basically splitting them two up as friends and whatnot, business partners.
The funny thing.
Go ahead. What'd you say, Peggy? Finish what you said.
The funny thing is originally Richard Gere's role was originally supposed to go to Al Pacino. Would have made it a very different movie.
Okay, can you imagine?
Oh,
I don't go up on that ledge.
Frankie and Johnny is really good with Michelle Pfeiffer and Al Pacino. All right, Alex, tear my pick down. Tear me down.
No, it's a fun one. There's parts. It's a classic. I mean, it's a Cinderella story. Absolutely. It has tons and tons and tons of problems. It really kind of feeds into the trope that in order for a person to find love, she has to change for her man, which she does, and she does with everything that he gives her. But also she's kind of going into it. She's very casual, you know. She's casually involved with a lot of people that use drugs and everything. That's part of her life. Understandably, she is a prostitute, but it is very problematic. And to me, like it should not be a way to this is not a healthy relationship. It's not in any way. That relationship will crumble within weeks. It's not healthy. Jason Alexander's character, absolutely sure he is kind of jealous, but he's more focused on the fact that he's not so much taking time of attention that he's jealous about. He's more really angry with her, knowing that he can make him money doing other things, taking more meetings, breaking away more companies. And that's what's taking him off, knowing that he's putting more attention towards her and, their fun times and checking out Rodeo Drive and everything, rather than him making more money for Jason Alexander's character.
Yeah. But it helped him when it came to talking to the guy that owned the company that they were going to buy and break up.
Oh, yeah, she had a fantastic influence on him.
Okay, I
can't
hear both of you.
Broke the cold heart that he had going,
Yeah. So it made him have a better relationship with the guy. He, instead of buying the guy's company and breaking it up, he went into business with him, and he has now a good relationship with that guy because now they're going to build a bunch of ships together.
Right? Big ships together.
Situation is going to change him forever. It's going to change his company and him as a human being. No, he's not a changed man because one meeting is different from the others. Just like this, the whole idea that, he is obsessed with this idea that I don't love you for you. I love what I can make you because I love that you have potential and I can form you into whatever I want.
But yeah, he does love her. He does love her because she's different. She's not the
that's also that's a horrible trope too. What's wrong? What's wrong with being quote unquote basic?
No.
Is she so much better because she's a little bit different from all the other girls that he's met before? Is she edgier? Is she cooler? Or whatever, because she's different from what he's seen before, because she is from a lower class, like he says, like he treats her.
Well, he's not trying to. He's actually trying to help her by giving her a better life and showing her what a better life could be if she was with him. And that could also help her elevate herself and learn new things and become.
Yeah, by continuing to have sex with him.
Well, whatever. Okay, let's get into our honorable mentions. You got any honorable mentions, Alex?
Long Shot, I felt like it was a wonderful rom-com from last year. I love that movie. I actually really wanted to put my top 5, but I feel like it's too recent of a movie for it to be in like a top 5 personal of all time. An American President, I love that movie. I really do, but it's also very sentimental. The Amelie, I love Amelie with Audrey Tautou, can't remember. Waitress, with Kerry Russell, Nathan Fillion. I feel like that is such a fun, fun's the wrong word, considering she's an abused, physically and emotionally abused waitress. But that's a very wonderful movie. And not to mention, very fun, light-hearted, coming-of-age rom-com is Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. Not to mention, that's what a bomb soundtrack. Seriously.
It does have a good soundtrack.
Great soundtrack.
And thanks to your game, I know Where's Fluffy is the name of the band.
There you go, girl. Where's fucking Fluffy?
All right, Peggy, you got any honorable mentions?
Do I? I have many an honorable mention. I have this entire stack here, but I won't do it. If you you can do the whole positive screen frame, whatever. But I will mention a couple, just top of the hits. Hitch is one of my absolute favorites, as seen on the wall. One that not a lot of people ought to know about. Going the Distance with Drew Barrymore and Justin Long.
I love that movie.
Not a whole lot of people seem to know about
Justin
this
Long
one.
It's so good. That
Um,
movie deserves more love.
Easy A, The Holiday if we're in a Christmassy type of mood, and Forgetting Sarah Marshall, also a very underappreciated.
Oh my gosh, that movie is so funny.
And then one more deep cut, if you would allow me so much, Dan. I'm gonna go Janine Garofalo and Uma Thurman and The Truth About Cats and Dogs.
Yeah.
Deep cut from the 90s. But Jamie Foxx is in this, shockingly so.
Okay. Yeah, I never saw that one. That's one I haven't seen. A lot. The other ones I have though. Like I said, I have 9 honorable mentions. This is such a tough topic, but because of the anniversary of Pretty Woman, I wanted to do this as a live episode just for the fun of it and see if we could how this works out. 40-Year-Old Virgin, great movie.
Yeah.
Love Actually. You want to talk about a great romantic comedy set around Christmas? Love Actually. I had, like I said, When Harry Met Sally. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Oh God, just an absolute classic with Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn.
Yep.
Annie Hall. You know, Woody Allen and Diane Keaton, which was mentioned already in another one. It Happened One Night, which is another absolute classic from way back.
Wait, which one is that? I can't remember.
Spencer Tracy is in it. It Happened One Night, I believe. Way back.
Yeah,
it sounds super familiar. Huh.
Yeah. Something's got to give.
They remade it like in the past decade.
Something's got to give with Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt and Greg Kinnear and Cuba Gooding Jr. Phenomenal movie. Roman Holiday, another one with Audrey Hepburn, which I really, really enjoyed. This one came very, very close to making my list. And I laugh out loud so many times with this one. There's Something About Mary, which I laugh so many times with this movie. It's just such the bathroom scene and this the hair and the Brett Favre and all this. It's just so many great scenes, and There's Something About Mary. All right, Alex, what is your 5 to 1?
My number 5 would have to be Harold and Maude. Number 5. Number 4 would be The Apartment. Number 3 is When Harry Met Sally. Number 2, Something's Gotta Give. And number 1 is 1995 Sabrina.
All right. And Peggy, what is your 5 to 1?
I had Crazy Stupid Love at number 5, I believe. Then it was Defending Your Life. Then it was About Time. When Harry Met Sally. And then Shag, the movie.
All right, my number 5 was The Big Sick. My number 4 was Bridesmaids. Number 3 is 500 Days of Summer. My number 2 is Say Anything. And my number 1 was Pretty Woman. Alex, where could you be found?
You can find me hosting Schmobates every single Wednesday with the Call to Action crew on Call to Action, the YouTube channel. We're a Schmodown based after show where we talk a lot of Schmodown, ask the Schmodown's biggest questions. We do that every single Wednesday. We do a lot of interviews and stuff like that with a lot of competitors within the Schmodown community. So it's a lot of fun. We do a lot of interviews as well. But also you can actually find me co-hosting a little show with Video Drew, aka Video Grant, Drew Grant. And our show is called Cinema Bias. We really kind of do a deep dive into a movie that one of us has seen and the other hasn't, and we kind of go over about the why and why not about it.
That sounds like it would be fun.
Yeah,
I have to catch that.
Yeah,
Peggy,
it's really fun.
where can you be found, Peggy, besides Chicago?
Well, my handle is at Peggy B Ball across all platforms. But you can also find me every Wednesday night hosting a show called Fantasy Film Fights, where we take a panel and we draft a random film topic fantasy style. This week we're drafting.
Not been invited on yet. Which I have not been invited on yet.
Have you put your comment in that you want to get on?
Well, at the beginning I did. I don't know how.
You gotta keep trying, but we'll get you on an episode soon, Dan. I promise you. And Alex, I want you on an episode as well.
Yeah, sure.
All right. This week we're doing movies that have a rating of 25% or less by the critics on Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't want to be on that episode. Forget about that.
It's already full, buddy. That one's already full up. But we got plenty of more fun topics. I also encourage you to watch Schmobates with Alex every Wednesday, which is on after us.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it. I've been trying to. I don't want to come across like I'm begging to be on everybody's show. So I kind of was hoping maybe Alex would invite me on once, but I didn't want to bug her. And say,
I'm not gonna lie. We do schedule weeks out in advance. Like I don't like going week to week. And so when I'm scheduled competitors and everything, I schedule it like 3-4 weeks ahead. Like I'm scheduling people right now for early April. So I only do like one debate, like one match thing a week. So
well, that's, you guys know how I was doing. I'm doing the top 5 weekly until they canceled all the movies. We were doing the topics. Yeah. I had like 2 months of guests already booked, and we had the topics, the thumbnails, everything, and then bam, all the movies got canceled. And then there goes my show, because I had recorded all these shows in advance for all the movies that were coming out, and they're like, "Oh, great, this is great." So somebody said, "Just put the episodes out. Hell with it." So
why not? Yeah,
I'm putting the episodes out. So Monday I'm going to put out an episode that Alex and I were on. But all right, so you can find me at Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, or at I write reviews for a website called Disappointment Media. That's DISIPPIONTSMEDIA.com, where I write about all kinds of. Right now, we're doing some anniversaries. I just did a documentary on wrestling. I'm actually wrote a review about Pretty Woman, which is coming out very soon, the 30th anniversary of Pretty Woman. So I'll post that on my channels. And you can find the Top 5 Weekly on my Facebook page. You can find it on Full Metal Facebook page. You can find it on Cine Sports Talk Facebook page, or my YouTube channel, Dan Allen. So my Top 5 Weeklies everywhere. I haven't done a lot of these live ones, but maybe we'll do more if I come up with some topics. All right. So for Alex and Peggy, good night, everybody.
Bye.